disheveled, disorganized this morning still. Blah, 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 blah. Anyway, good morning. Happy Monday to all who are here. The chat is very chatty already, so excellent times. And sorry, I was a little preoccupied this morning because there's actually something called breaking news that happened just this morning, it sounds like. So we will get to that in a minute. So I had to go download like a breaking news theme. So let's go ahead. We've got Jason Wayne Hobbs music. Jason, welcome. And while Jason is here, he's in Baltimore on a layover. I've got Jason penciled in for Wednesday evening. We're going to go over a news article that he wrote for me. Hopefully that will still work out, Jason. And we will go over that. It's on my website if you would like to preview the article, but it's 10 tips from a real life flight attendant. Not some of those fluff pieces that we've reviewed in the past. Hopefully everything's coming through okay. Yeah, I got levels. All right. David says, David. Remember David? Good evening, David. Happy evening in the UK. I'm still experiencing the chill of the morning here in the Boise Valley. I think we're looking at, I think we're supposed to get up to like 72 today. Nope, 68 today will be our high temperature. High temperature on Saturday, I think, is supposed to be 48 degrees. So cool is coming. Archie, greetings all. That Waikiki photo is my favorite. Been cold and rainy here for days, and I long for sunshine. Which Waikiki photo would that be? I don't know if I know which one that is. However, I do have, since I just talked about it, I have my website. There's Jason's article, and I believe I posted Waikiki photos. I really enjoyed Waikiki. I think a lot of people don't necessarily like Waikiki. I quite enjoyed Waikiki. I really like the sunset. Sunset from my lanai. Nice, fairly warm water. The surfers. It was really cool. That was good. That was a good trip back in January. It's been almost a year. Gosh, 9 months, I guess. Lots of pictures. Little airplane streak. Airplane taking off. Yeah. Good times, good memories. Maybe it's one of those that Archie is mentioning. All right, let's see. David's asking Jason what he did to be punished to end up at Baltimore. Good layover, plenty of rest time. That's good. Lots of good. Bodacious is here. Let's see. Have I gotten everybody? Have I gotten everybody? I think I have. Let's see. Top left aerial picture. Must be one of the backgrounds. Is it one of the backgrounds that plays in my little thingy here in the start? Must be one of those. Regardless, I'm glad you enjoyed, Archie, and that's one of my favorites right there, that bottom. But anyway, good times in Hawaii. That'd be quite the flight. Probably be easier to get to Portugal or something from New York than it would be to get to Hawaii. Bahamas, maybe? Bahamas. Yeah, maybe the Bahamas. Alrighty. Well, welcome, my friends, my viewers, my whoever comes in after the fact. But hopefully we get some first-timers coming in. And let us... Oh, I've already gone to the side-by-side. Normally I go here and then you can experience the joy that is my studio. But I went right to the side-by-side. Anyway, so here's the map. After last Wednesday, we discussed using Flight Radar for statistical purposes. This time of the day, I've got 18,680 flights being tracked by Flight Radar 24. Conspicuous in the middle, there is a hot air balloon. I don't know if the hot air balloons intentionally like go up, or if this is somehow stacked by altitude. It's really high, 63,600 feet. So yeah, maybe that's the deal. Let's see. I've got a Aerolíneas Argentinas going from somewhere to somewhere. I have no idea where those places are. Singapore Airlines, Johannesburg to Singapore. Looks like a long one. I got Emirates up and over the North Pole. That's always cool. A380, Dubai to LAX. So all the plane spotters in LAX will have an A380, the regular A380, pretty much regular these days. Still haven't gotten on one of those. I need to do that someday, hopefully soon, sooner rather than later. It's interesting. It started out a little easterly and then came back. So we've got Ukraine, of course. If I was a political channel, I would be discussing things in Ukraine and things in the Middle East and stuff like that. But I do have actual. I'm gonna skip the statistics. We'll come back to this. There's actual breaking news this morning. There, does that sound breaking newsy? I believe this just happened this morning, actually. I was doing my last check of the news before I got everything set up. Alaska Airlines flight diverts after security threat tied to authorized occupant in the cockpit. I don't know if anybody of you have heard that. I love my little breaking news music, by the way. I got that thrown onto the soundboard really quickly this morning, so it's a little longer than I'd like, but I think it's I needed some breaking news music. So, Alaska Airlines said a San Francisco-bound plane diverted to Portland. The airline said an authorized occupant in the cockpit posed a security threat. So this is our Horizon Air operating an Embraer E175. From what I was able to tell. Let's see. And we can confirm that because I have flight radar. So this is Alaska 2059. So if I look that up and I go to flight radar and I go Alaska 2059, it's got a QX because that is what it is. Let's see. Diverted to Portland. So here's the actual flight. 22 October. Oh, so this was yesterday. Last night, 5:25 p.m. I'm still gonna qualify that as breaking news. So yeah, so it looks like normal probably took off to the north. Yep, E175. Somewhere in this stretch, I'm guessing whoever was in the jump seat, and I believe the article says it was probably an off-duty pilot. I didn't say. They haven't said who the unauthorized occupant is. So an authorized occupant, and Jason may know more about this than I do, but I believe an authorized occupant would be an employee of the airline, probably a pilot, is my guess, commuting to his or her next flight. That's my guess. I think Jason technically is an authorized occupant because I'm pretty sure Jason occupies the cockpit when the pilots go for their potty break. I'm pretty sure he is authorized to do that. So I'm not sure who or what you have to do to be authorized, but I think I've seen people who I don't believe are pilots go into the cockpit. I think they just have to have two employee type people. Let's see. Flight. So this is yesterday afternoon. Flight 2059, operated by Horizon Air from Everett to San Francisco, reported a credible security threat related to an authorized occupant in the flight deck jump seat, Alaska Airlines said. The crew secured the aircraft without incident. So kicked them out, perhaps? Taped them to a seat, maybe? I don't know. Law enforcement is investigating, Alaska said. The pilots' union didn't immediately comment. See, this makes me think it's a pilot if they're asking the pilots' union. We are grateful for the professional handling of the situation by the Horizon flight crew and appreciate our guests' calm and patience throughout this event, Alaska Airlines said in a statement. So Jason says, pilot, dispatcher, FAA in the jump seat. FAA, flight attendant, or an actual person from the Federal Aviation Administration. So, let's see. Is there room for a jump seat in that? Yes, it actually. I've seen it. It slides out, and basically where the door is where the jump seat would be. So the pilot's door closes, and the jump seat is basically in that little slot there. Oh, it is. So it is FAA. Okay. So you're allowed because you're a pilot. Is that why? Perhaps. Anyway, yeah. So I think it pulls out, it flips down, and so that person does have direct access to the throttles, which are immediately in front of them. So yeah, that's not good. That's a little spooky. So we shall see what happens as a result of this. Oh, I got more breaking news. It's a little long. It's a little long. So this will be my only political mention of the day. Greta Thunberg is still a horrible person.
How dare you?
All right, let's move on to the statistics. And if you don't know what that's referring to, do a little search on Google about Greta Thunberg over the weekend and you'll see. All righty. It's just a toy. It doesn't look like Hitler. It's just a toy. Yep. All right. I will leave it there. You can find it's probably I'll bet the powers that be are very actively scrubbing any mention of Greta Thunberg and her idiocy over the weekend. All right. So looking at the statistics, the total number of flights, again, 7-day average, 221,000 flights over the last 7 days compared to 2019, the last normal year, 192,000 flights. So the airline industry is booming again. We'll see what it does. You can clearly see that we're coming out of the peak season of travel. This 2020 thing, this dip in 2020 was traumatic, obviously, for everybody. But yeah, excuse me. So we'll see what happens there. Jason says certain FAA positions carry the credentials to sit in a flight deck jump seat, which would be a dream of mine to sit in the jump seat. That would be simply amazing to be up there in front. I've seen what's the flight series? Anyway, they get access to the cockpits. I don't think they are allowed to be in the cockpit in North America, but they are in Europe. For rules are different. All right. And this was all right. So moving on, we'll move on from the breaking news. Again, I've not read this article, but from the headline, it's like, what are you doing, Southwest? This doesn't seem right. Southwest kicks woman off flight for petting her dog. Let's find out what Southwest has been doing. So I found this when I got the breaking news. That's why so I found this morning too. There's a little TikTok. There she is getting kicked off. Grumpy flight attendant. He looks very serious. All right. A woman was allegedly kicked off a Southwest Airlines flight Saturday for petting her dog in an attempt to calm the pet's nerves. I believe the person, I did read something. Yeah, the headline. The person filming the video said she was kicked off the flight as well. So, passenger Sarah Price posted a video of the woman gathering her bags and exiting the plane on TikTok. She said the woman flew to Colorado Springs to pick up her new puppy, and she was returning home to California when the incident occurred. The puppy was whining a little, and the flight attendant boarding everyone walked up to her and said, "If your dog doesn't be quiet, you may not be able to fly," Price wrote in the caption of the post. The dog stopped whining after the woman reached her hand into the carrier to pet it. Price said the woman had the dog carrier on her lap, and the flight attendant told her that the carrier must be closed and placed under the seat. "Everyone around us was like, 'What's going on here?' Price wrote. The woman complied with their instructions, according to Price. The dog gave a very soft whine, so she leaned over and started petting it from the outside of the carrier, right at the mesh. All the attendants got in a group in the front of the plane and decided we need to return to the gate and she should be removed from the flight." The woman can be heard calling the flight attendant rude and a mean person in the video. A passenger whom Price identified as her husband stood up for the woman. "You should be ashamed of yourself," he told the flight attendant. Price claims she and her husband were kicked off the flight as well for speaking up. "We are aware of the video you shared, and our initial reports indicate that the customer would not comply with keeping her dog's kennel closed, which is our policy," Southwest Airlines said in a statement to the messenger. "Our employees are trained to ensure customers are following protocol, and in this situation, after the customer repeatedly refused to comply with our crew's instruction, the decision was made to deplane the disruptive passenger." All right, Jason, you're on the hot seat. Based on the very limited information that we have here, seems I could go both ways on this one. What do you guys think? But it seems kind of like an overreact to me, but it seems like a bit of an overreact, especially if the puppy's barking. That's one thing. It's not going to be very loud regardless. Once the plane's up in the air, I dare say you wouldn't be able to hear any of it. But I think this flight attendant said, made a decision that, I'm going to be the rule follower no matter what. Jason says over the top. Yeah, I think there's I'll bet the flight attendant, just a guess. I need like a shorter breaking news stinger. Just a guess. I'm guessing this particular flight attendant probably doesn't have a dog. I think a dog person probably would have been like, "Oh, it's a cute puppy, and it's quiet. It's just kind of whiny." I think any kind of dog person probably would have been like, "Oh, that's fine. It's just a dog. It's just a little pup. It is scared." Like half of the passengers on the plane are probably scared. So Jason says, "Give me a plane full of puppies anytime." Yeah, this is kind of like sad. It's a younger flight attendant, I would say, based on this little TikTok video. Yeah, I just think I think that's kind of unnecessary. That's my take. That's my vote. Give us a like if you agree. If you disagree, say in the comments. Hey, Money Team. I guess I'm in the minority. I wouldn't want to hear pups whining the whole flight, and I love the doggies. A little puppy. Of course, we don't know what kind of puppy it is. But I think once you're up in the air with the engines running, if it's not like a full size black lab who's barking, I suspect most people wouldn't hear it, but we'll see. Bodacious says Southwest is so inconsistent. My sister was on a plane when they let the parrots fly through the cabin. If you don't like birds, I think parrots flying through an airplane would probably cause you to crap your pants. Jason and I are aligned. Engines will cover the whining. Yeah, it's one of those things. Like I said, if you are with the lady who got kicked off, give me a like. If not, tell me in the comments, like Money Team did. So I respect both positions. I can understand it. There have been some dogs on planes that I am surprised are allowed on planes. So, emotional support parrots, yes. I think David and I had a discussion a while back about emotional support animals. And I think my go-to was the emotional support potbelly pig, which I believe is actually a thing. Bodacious adds, the screaming 2-year-old behind me is much worse than a dog whining. Typically, I would agree with that as well. Yeah. So, and then, but the person filming the video getting kicked off as well. Again, that seems excessive. But I don't know. Maybe there's a policy that Southwest has about filming, and the fact that the flight attendant is in the video. I mean, clearly see that individual is dressed in the uniform, so perhaps that's the thing. Yeah. There was a period of time when it always seemed like I was getting seated next to the young child who was not interested in being on the airplane. So it happens. All right, let us move on. And maybe it's a bummer I haven't been on JSX yet, because maybe their days are limited. Oops, what did I do? I did a bad thing. I think I did a bad thing. No, I didn't. See if we can make that bigger. All right. The FAA proposal to crack down on public air charters draws huge interest. So JSX is a public air charter. I didn't really until I saw this. Public air charter is a new class of air carrier where you go to the business terminal, which does not have typical FAA, TSA, etc., where you just walk out onto the tarmac and get on a plane like a private jet. Yeah. So the FAA, I don't think, likes that. And so here's the article. Nearly 60,000 comments have been submitted to the public record regarding a potential FAA plan to require the largest operators of public air charters, most notably JSX, to adhere to the same requirements as commercial airlines. I would say this does seem to be a huge loophole. But, that's more comments than the FAA received for recent high-interest rulemakings, such as its writing of comprehensive regulations on drone operations and its consideration on setting standards for airline seat sizes. Yeah, I suspect a lot of business travelers probably are flying JSX. You drive up, walk into the FBO, basically, walk out the back door, and you get on your airplane. I don't think there's a whole lot more to it than that. I've flown in my previous career. I flew on company jet multiple times, and that's basically you walk on, you walk through, and you walk out, get on the airplane, and off you go. So it's pretty sweet. The comment period for the proposed public charter rule ended on October 13th, but JSX says that more comments should show up in the online file over the coming days as the federal government's regulations.gov website plays catch up. We have a website called regulations.gov.
How about no?
I'm not a fan of regulations in general. The carrier says that more than 74,000 people submitted comments in response to a campaign it conducted over the past couple of weeks. A rewrite of public charter rules in the fashion proposed by the FAA would eliminate the JSX business model, which involves operating regularly scheduled flights on 30-seat aircraft from private airport terminals. JSX flies to 24 cities on a year-round or seasonal basis. Though small, JSX competes with major carriers for premium customers in some markets, offering free Wi-Fi, spacious seating, and lounge space, along with the convenience of avoiding large airports. This is why I'm gonna say I think the big airline carriers have a huge lobby in our government. Would that shock anybody? Does anyone else share that belief or think I'm just a conspiracy theorist? They have lots of money. They lobby the politicians. Premium customers, I think, make a lot of money for the big airlines, and if they are being lost to small carriers, no matter how small, like JSX, you're gonna do what you can to get them out of the business. Perhaps it's just good competition. Anyway, in the August announcement about its intent to revise public charter regulations, the FAA noted that such flights have expanded in frequency and complexity in recent years and said that the growth will pose an increased risk to flight safety if left unchecked. Ain't
nobody got time for that.
Carriers operating under public charter authority must limit their flights to no more than 30 passengers. But pilots aren't subject to the 1,500-hour training rule, unlike commercial airline pilots. Also, charter pilots aren't subject to the mandatory retirement age of 65. Public charter flyers don't have to go through standard TSA airport screening, though the operations are subject to TSA oversight. The debate over public charters will pit powerful forces in the airline industry against each other. Supporting JSX and other public charter operators are JSX partners JetBlue and United. Interesting. United has a piece of this. Interesting. ASTA is also a supporter. ASTA wrote in its filing that a small but growing number of clients utilize the services of public operators for their travel needs. For these passengers, travel by charter flight represents an attractive and in many cases more convenient alternative to business class travel on a commercial carrier at a comparable cost. Opposing GSX and the public charter model are American, Southwest, and large industry airline unions such as the Airline Pilots Association and Association of Flight Attendants. CWA. I don't know what the CWA is. Whether they're flying on aircraft with 10 seats or 250 seats, the flying public deserves nothing less than to be assured of a consistent and rigorous level of aviation safety. You always go back to safety, even though it's about money, in my opinion. Southwest wrote in its comment, Southwest urges the FAA to move quickly to take appropriate action so that there will never be a situation in the future where Congress and the public ask why the FAA failed to take action to protect the traveling public when it was possible to do so. JSX has defended its safety standard and says Southwest, American, and the unions are attempting to thwart competition. Like Southwest and American, JSX is based in Dallas. Interesting. For example, JSX says that its captains average 8,000 hours of flight experience and its first officers average 3,000 hours. The FAA currently faces multiple real, thoroughly documented safety challenges, JSX wrote, noting that none involve public charter operators. Yeah, how about that 737 problem? All right, let's go back. I got quite a few chats since I started reading this. Let's see. Archie, back to the previous. Youngsters may suffer ear issues while flying. Yes, which is why many airlines used to, I don't know if they still do, give kids sweets to suck on. Helps their ears pop. David says, I think JSX still scans luggage. Yeah, Noel Phillips did a JSX flight recently, and I think they did go through a scanner. Archie, Mayor Pete can take care of this with another government agency. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Probably, perhaps. David says, regulations enforce minimum standards, which makes life easier for all. We could have a discussion about regulations. They certainly have a place. I think they are used to enforce behaviors. more than they are to make life better for all. That is my opinion. David says, "Oh, Mayor Pete, an emotional support agency." Yes, maybe he will start an emotional support agency. Jason says, "This is a push from the big three." Yeah, that's my take. Erodes their business service. Yep. Bodacious says, "I'd like to know what the record is. Do charters have issues?" I've not heard of any issues with the charters. I've heard an issue with Boeing, but that's the last big issue that I'm aware of. So I doubt unions are complaining unless they have no unions. David, I think you repeat yourself. Sorry, I'm not making light of your perspective. I'm trying not to, but most when I visit California, which is, in my opinion, the land of regulation, there are examples after examples after examples of places where regulations have just gone to the absurd. I think my favorite was there was a sign next to the hot tub at a hotel that I stayed at that said hot tubs are hot. And there was the little state of California regulation thing underneath it. So regulations, again, need to be thought out in a lot more detail than they are currently, at least in the United States. I can't speak for Europe and the UK since I don't live in those places, but I do know here in America that there are regulations that are just absurd. And we just keep getting more and more and more of these regulations that at the end of the day just cost all of us a lot of money and don't actually provide public benefit. So that's my opinion. There are for sure good regulations, but it's just a lot of them that I find the majority of them fall into the absurd. So Badger is here. And I figured it was, I don't know, Badger, if you're into sports ball, football, but I was going to wear my Michigan hat today, but then I refrained. I might have to wear it on Wednesday, but so probably not really enjoyable football days at Michigan State right now. So read The Managerial Resolution by James Burnham. I have to get my notepad. Make a note. Managerial Revolution. I need like some Jeopardy music. Feel the dead air. That's an old one. All right. David says some companies are very anti-union and shut down locations if unions are discussed. Starbucks. Yeah. That seems to be like a cut off your nose to spite your face kind of thing that they do. I do know they are closing locations due to crime in certain cities, such as Seattle. I think their first location has been shut down due to crime in the neighborhood. At least that's what I read. Bodacious says the Idaho Transportation Department gave itself a pat on the back after removing 200 regulations that were just unnecessary last year. OSHA is regulating and saves lives. OSHA was mandating a certain vaccination and was going to shut down companies in the United States if they didn't take that particular thing. So I don't have a good feeling. I agree. OSHA does a lot. Again, OSHA does a lot of good things, but there was a time when they were going to be shutting down businesses in the United States if their employees didn't get a certain thing put into their body that a lot of people did not want to put in their body. And I have to be a little gentle because that is a subject that I believe will get me banned from YouTube, and I'm not looking to be banned from YouTube anytime soon. So again, there's a good and bad example in just about every instance, I think. So, however, let's move on to travel.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Oh,
Be excellent to each other.
yes, there we go. We'll go that way. That's a very contentious discussion that I'm going to avoid. If we were on Rumble, we could go all in, but we are not. I am not on Rumble. I need to look at that, but then we'll have a lively political discussion on Rumble. How expert travel advisors prepare for a long international flight. Trust us. Oh, trust us. Oh, yeah, because they know. Anyway, Travel and Leisure says, embrace the long haul. So these are A-list advisors. Jack Enzon, I have no idea who that is. I love long flights. I look forward to them. In fact, I would much rather take an 8-hour flight from New York to Rome than a 3-hour flight from New York to Miami. It sounds strange, but you get treated so much better. Here are his suggestions. Always pack pajamas to change for an overnight flight. I've never packed pajamas. Never sleep flying east. If your flight is less than 10 hours. So flying east. The rising sun will give you jet lag. Let's see, flying east. So that's the overnight flight. Okay. So like America to Europe would be flying east. Okay. Before your flight, put a list together of all the things you've always wanted to do, but never had the time. Long flights offer the best uninterrupted time. Go to sleep. Okay, I'm confused already. Limit or restrict alcohol. If you're aboard a shorter overnight flight, go right to sleep. In fact, I like to stay up late the night before, so I'm really tired when I board. Don't look at the in-flight movies, just sleep. I am a total carry-on person. I do a carry-on for 3 weeks. I haven't checked a bag in over 15 years. Doesn't number 2 and number 4 conflict with each other? I don't know who Jack Enzon is in Bark Beyond. Let's check out Jack Enzon. Travel Advisory Board. So he's effectively he charges $850. So he's on advisory boards for companies including, okay, so he's basically a salesman. So good for you, carry-on guy. Let's see. Help your body decompress. I try to hydrate well prior to boarding, and then 10 grams of melatonin does the rest for me. Travelicious. Again, not heard of Travelicious, but okay. Stay hydrated. I agree with that. I don't have a problem with that. Jason says, this person is an expert. Archie says, Travel and Leisure authors are always extra wordy. Well, because it makes them sound smarter, right?
This could be a cultural misunderstanding.
If you're very wordy, you are more, you're a lot smarter if you're wordy, right?
You're one of those little fancy lads, aren't you?
As soon as I get on the plane, I change time zones and try to get into the mentality of counting the hours based on the visiting country's time. When I arrive, I try to stay awake no matter what by scheduling fun things on the very first day. For example, meeting up with a friend for dinner, taking a long walk, etc. This makes it hard for me to fall asleep, even if I feel like I'm ready to collapse. I've tried that one, when you get to where you're going to stay awake. Last time I went to Paris, I made it till about 8 p.m. and then I crashed out. Yeah, I ended up waking up at like 3 in the morning or something. Still felt terrible, but keep things light. Wear loose clothing. Stay hydrated. No, I haven't had my bottle out in a while. You can get yourself a bottle. Stay hydrated. Try to avoid excess salt and sugar. Power through your sleep schedule and pack light. Petros Zismos, Hellenic Holidays. See, these are like travel agents. Interesting. Say no to napping. I'm no stranger to long haul flights. I consider anything under 8 hours short. All right. It's a must to try and adjust to the destination's sleep schedule before your flight as best as possible. Doing this always helps you when you arrive at your new destination. Also, never ever take a nap during your first day. Doing that can ruin your sleep schedule for the whole trip. This is from Andy Moran, Kensington Tours. Was this page helpful? What do you think? Should I give it a thumbs up? I don't think that was helpful. I thought that was a kind of like, they had the first guy who had a list of things. Wear pajamas. Maybe if you're a reader of Travel and Leisure and you're always in business class, first class, but let's see. David says travel advisors to only business class. Alcohol is a perk of flying, though I can live without. Badger says political. I'm gonna to sound more erudite. I say verbose instead of wordy. Excellent education from that Big Ten university. Good job. They do. Michigan State is a lovely university. I do know that. I have extended family who were professors there, so they would say, yes, we are a very good school. So I actually don't know anything about any of the educational things about any Big Ten school. I just watch football. So I like football. Loquacious. Nice. Got $10 words coming in. $10. It's excellent. All right. Got this from Jason. No, not Jason. David. Sorry. David has sent me this. David says someone has a thesaurus. I actually think I have a paper thesaurus somewhere. Top stories live. UK Prime Minister says hospital blast likely caused by missile launched from Gaza. Who are the 9 Republican U.S. Speaker candidates? Argentina minister defies polls in first round. See, politics suck. This isn't the best airplane story either, but no, MSU, nope, private and secondary school. Still can educate anybody can expand their own education simply as Badger recommended earlier by opening a book and reading. Reading is really one of the best things you can do to expand your brain capacity, I believe. So, is that an educated dinosaur? I don't know. Thank you very much, Badger. Yes, you are 100% correct. It's sad. It's just lob accusations, and yeah. Yep. It could be, there's any number of accusations you can make. Hell, you could call someone in the U.S. today. If you called someone a MAGA, you would get them on the FBI's most wanted list, I bet. Seems like. Go to a school board meeting and disagree with the school board. You'll get yourself on a list. It's pretty sad. Leeds Bradford Airport reopens after plane skids off runway during Storm Babette. You had a named storm named Babette, David. Wow. Leeds Bradford Airport, which I'm not entirely sure where that is. North of London, I'm guessing. TUI flight from Corfu came off the runway while landing amid heavy rain and wind on Friday afternoon. Passengers were evacuated and the site was closed to allow for recovery. The airport reopened at 11:30 British Standard Time. Leeds Bradford warned that there would be continuing disruption and urged passengers to check with airlines before traveling. The LBA team and partners have worked tirelessly throughout the night in torrential conditions to recover the aircraft in order to safely reopen the runway and airport. It has been a huge team effort from all corners of the airport and our partners. We want to express our sincere gratitude to everyone involved in blah, blah, blah. So I got a question for all of you out there. We got 9 right now. That's interesting for a Monday. 9 on a Monday is double what I normally get. So thank you for joining. Does anyone know how a storm gets a name? What qualifies a storm to get a name? I'm just curious how a storm gets a name. I'm sure I wonder if there was back in the old days when I was a kid, there was always these Schoolhouse Rock things. The floods all over the country. Leeds Bradford's airport is 250 miles north of London, so quite a ways north. Okay. I'm just curious, does anyone know how a storm gets a name? And how they picked Babette. Just curious. I think in hurricane season, they have a predetermined list of names. Seems like it's the Greek alphabet for the first letter, and then they go from there. But I don't know how they determine what the criteria is for a storm to get a name. So... The Maldives' new leader wants Indian troops to leave. There are Indian troops in the Maldives? What? I want to go back to the Maldives. Loved my visit there. 2 customers who were due to travel from Leeds Bradford Airport on Saturday morning were directed to Manchester. Okay. The operator said it was assisting the air incidents and investigation branch with the investigation. Storm Babette continued to affect parts of the UK on Saturday with high winds, torrential rain, and widespread flooding. Bummer. That's a cool picture. I dig tigers. I think tigers are beautiful, beautiful cats. Passengers arriving at Leeds Bradford Airport on Friday evening were faced with departure boards filled with canceled flights and queues for taxis and buses in pouring rain. Customers were also arriving on coaches from other airports having been diverted. So TUI is a holiday airline, I believe, right, David? Let's see. David says, I think level of winds or damage potential. Long list like hurricanes. Okay. So Babette means you're pretty early in the storm season, I would guess. There was a follow-up article from The Sun. We thought we would die when our plane skidded off the Leeds Bradford Airport runway during Storm Babette. Yep. If you have the unfortunate luck to hit anything that ruptures a fuel tank, you are in danger. That's where fire starts, and that's bad. Someone's going to need a car wash. Holiday charter airline. Thought hurricanes were given names in alphabetical order for the year. Yeah, it could be. Like I said, Weather is not
But what I do have are a very particular set of skills.
in my particular set of skills. I like weather. I like watching storms, but I really am not real sure. I bet Matt would know. Matt's my king weather nerd that I consult from time to time. And sorry, Archie, for not singing the Cumulus backdrop song. Not much of a singer, frankly. Let's see. So back here, airplane aquaplaned. So just some photos. That is a mess. So that 737 is going to be going into the shop for sure. I don't know what sort of damage it took, but bad times. Bad times. So David, in your perspective, is the UK getting more storms these days, or just seems like regular? Curious about that anecdotal info. All right, so I'm a nerd for rocket launches, and I've been teasing, kind of sort of teasing that I'm going to do a live stream when SpaceX launches the Falcon. That's not Falcon. The Super Heavy from down in Texas. And so, yeah, I've been waiting for that. And this story also popped up. Increase in launches creates impacts for aviation, emergency management, and public safety. Airplane flight rules, boat restrictions, emergency preparedness, traffic assistance. The big boost in launches on the Space Coast isn't just bringing more tourists to Brevard. It has also had a ripple effect on other industries as they work to accommodate, or in some cases capitalize, on the unprecedented pace. I did see a headline. I think SpaceX is aiming to launch 144 times next year. Not all of those are from Florida. Some of them from California. But that's an insane number of launches. It's massive. Super cool. Airlines, cruise ships, emergency operations officials, and police have had to adjust as the skies above the Space Coast get busier. Yes. Port Canaveral is a huge cruise port, and it is right at the south end. It borders. Is it still Kennedy Space Center? It has a couple different names. Anyway, it borders the launch complexes. It's pretty crazy. So there's the Canaveral port channel, and on the north side of that there are launch pads. It's crazy. So the Space Force, which runs the Eastern Range, has collaborated with partner organizations like the FAA and commercial spaceflight companies to shrink potential hazard zones, making it easier on planes and boats. Yeah, and so there's an exclusion zone for boats and airplanes, obviously, whenever there's a launch. So 144 launches, the vast majority are probably going to be off of Florida's coast next year. That's a pretty, that could be a pretty big impact. Sherm Malquist, an instructor at the Florida Institute of Technology's College of Aeronautics, says launches can result in route changes for commercial airline flights. Yeah, my recollection from being in Fort Lauderdale is the flights, the typical flight route from like the Northeast to Florida is right along the coast. And so they would have to either go inland to avoid the launch areas, or they'd have to go out into the ocean a little bit further. In a nutshell, you have to close off a region of airspace off the coast, said Malmquist, who is also a Boeing 777 captain, flying primarily on international routes. Oh, here's an example of, for a typical launch, up to 36 flights are rerouted, 4,300 passengers, 300 minutes of delays. For a typical launch, this graphic depicts a newly altered no-fly zone to the northeast of Cape Canaveral Space Force Station and Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Designated by the FAA for most rocket launches, the reduction in closed airspace is designed to reduce delays for commercial flights in and out of Central Florida by upwards of 300 minutes and 1,500 miles. Interesting. So they believe that most launches are probably going to go through that area so they can leave some of that airspace open. Interesting. So it's a bit of a confidence in SpaceX and their ability to launch successfully, I would say. Interesting. All right. Brevard Emergency Operations Center cuts back staffing. Anyway, so I've actually watched a launch from that bridge right there. It's in Titusville. Anyway. So if they ever get around to launching the Heavy, I will be live streaming that. So we'll be ready. Just let us know when you think it'll launch. Would love to watch. It's one of those really weird things. I'm paying attention to there's like the Texas Tank Watchers who they have a channel on YouTube. So I pay attention to them, and ultimately right now we're waiting for the FAA to grant the license to SpaceX. And so when that happens, the launch will get scheduled, and it might be a spur of the moment. And so if I go live, it might just be I don't know if they're going to schedule it or if they're just going to do it. The last time they actually scheduled it, and so I had a chance to set up a live stream. Stay tuned. I hope. If at worst case, you'll be able to watch my reaction video to it. But I hope they actually get it scheduled so we can go through the whole thing and you can watch along, because the last one didn't go so well. So we'll see how this one goes. In a Pickle TJ, welcome. I think it is so cool how they can precision land the booster rocket after separation. I agree. To me, the coolest part of the whole SpaceX experience, and I haven't had the chance yet, I need to get to Florida I would love to be in Florida for a Falcon Heavy with the two side boosters returning to Florida and landing in Florida to get the double sonic boom. Watching from like Port Canaveral Park. Is it Port Canaveral Park? I think that's what it's called. Anyway, it's just on the south. I've been there a couple different times for launches, and then they got scrubbed. But it's a cool place. It's got a cool beach in Cocoa Beach area. It's amazing. Unfortunately, the times I've been there, the launches have been scrubbed, so I missed out on that. But super cool. So in a pickle, I'll totally agree. Or probably TJ. Totally agree, TJ. That watching them land on a barge in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean is a stunning achievement. I have a little bit of control engineering background, and they did a lot of trial and error. I can recommend to anyone who has interest in rockets. SpaceX has a video on YouTube. It's probably got 10 million views by now. I believe it's titled How to Not Land an Orbital Class Rocket or something like that. And they are very open about all of the fails, and it shows boosters blowing up and boosters crashing on the ground and just missing the landing pad. And it's awesome if you love it. And then it really gives you an appreciation for the fact that they're able to almost center dot the landing of the booster. It's amazing to me. That level of technology. Growing up in love with the space shuttle and Saturn V's and all that, and this mentality that it's best just to throw the pieces away after we launch every time. SpaceX has kind of turned that one on its head. Pretty amazing. It's disappointing to me that NASA and the Artemis program is still throwing away the booster. Those beautiful RS-25s that took the space shuttles up and down all those years are just being thrown away into the deep parts of the Atlantic Ocean. So I find that kind of sad. How times change. So, all right, we're nearing the end. A major airline is letting customers pay $30 for elbow room. Apparently it's Qantas because they're showing an airplane wearing Qantas, but so let's find out what airline will pay what $30 gets you. While many travelers will remember scoring that elusive free row of economy seats on an empty plane, even a single free seat next to you has become increasingly rare in 2023. More and more airlines are planning routes to minimize the number of planes flying half empty and spreading out staff based on routes with the most travelers amid the surge of demand and the dearth of staff to meet it post-pandemic. While TikTok is currently bursting with dubious travel hacks promising to keep the seat next to one's ticketed place free, yeah, baloney. One airline is turning this around and offering it to those who pay. Oh, I got to continue reading. Here's what you need to know about Qantas's new neighbor-free seating. Qantas, which is Australia's flagship carrier, is officially debuted its neighbor-free seating service on October 21st. Passengers who want to guarantee they do not have anyone sitting next to them on an international flight can pay 45 Australian dollars, roughly 28 US currently, or at the time of writing, for flights between Australia and New Zealand. That's not a long flight. $100 Australian for flights between Australia and Singapore, and $225 for long-haul flights between Australia and the US. $142. $142 to have no single-serving friend for a 15-hour flight. Interesting. That's that. If you're flying solo, all in all, the service will be available on 19 international flights and is meant to test how popular the option is before rolling it out to more and shorter flights. Some of the routes slated have the option include Sydney Dallas, Sydney Honolulu, and Los Angeles Melbourne. The data shows it's most popular with customers on our long-haul flights between the East and West Coasts, so rolling it out to our international flights makes a lot of sense. Interesting. Is neighbor-free seating the answer for decreasing plane seat sizes? Well, I don't want to go there. The service is currently available for economy travelers and is independent of getting an upgrade into premium economy. Qantas also warns that neighbor-free seats may need to be changed for operational, safety, or security reasons even after boarding the aircraft, in which case the money paid will be refunded. Qantas experiment shows the industry how airlines can give passengers who need more space the opportunity to pay for it without outright charging 2 seats or losing money on seats flying empty. Earlier this year, plus-size travel influencer Christy Leanne, I have no idea who Christy Leanne is, so apparently I'm not being influenced by her, went viral for documenting how she asks flight attendants if they can find her a seat with an empty one next to it on flights. While flight attendants sometimes do this if there are free ones, other airlines may soon follow Qantas' lead in looking to turn this into a paid option. So, Jason, do you get asked? Do travel influencers ask you this? Let's see. David says, I thought middle seats get both armrests. That's, I've heard that rule before, and I try to adhere to that. My son has very sharp elbows, and so when I'm flying with him, I still get the elbow, even if I'm giving him the window. TJ, some of the YouTubers have said the Qantas service is declining. I believe that service is struggling across the board. That earlier I did a story about the Southwest flight attendant. Was that my last flight? The Southwest flight attendant was grumpy too. And I don't know if I don't know if he's having a bad day. I don't know if he's just a grumpy person. but it's hard to say whether it's industry-wide decrease or it's a case-to-case basis, you know? I think I know Jason well enough to know that he will not skimp on service as long as the passenger doesn't treat him like... as long as the passenger treats him with the appropriate amount of respect for the job that he's doing, that would be my impression of Jason. I've not flown with Jason quite yet. I'm looking forward to that when we get to that. But David says, yes, Qantas are having a series of problems right now. David says, give me bigger seats rather than the option to pay for more extra space. So Jason, I think this is in response to my question. Not really. Have I ever seen a tube hotel in Japan? Maybe this could be a model for long distance flights. I have seen the tube hotel. I get a little claustrophobic, so I don't think I would like that. It feels very kind of coffin-like, the ones I've seen. Again, I think Noel Phillips did that on a video, and it looked kind of What I'd really like to do is the Emirates like suite with the door and everything. That looks amazing, but I'm a little surprised that they haven't done a tube airplane yet. It seems like you could probably fit in. Of course, it could be a little challenging to get the density you need to pay for the flight. Could be maybe on a 777. But then you might have to take away some of your cargo space. So interesting. It would probably work. I'm surprised a Japanese airline hasn't done it, because I think there seems to be a cultural thing about, you know, being real close to each other in a lot of Asian countries. That personal bubble that a lot of Americans have, for example, is non-existent in a lot of countries. Seems like when you are like, when they use a broom to force you onto the subway or the metro because there's so many people that need to get in, I think you probably get over that. But David says the tubes would add weight. Yeah, and I don't know. The other thing, I don't know how you would be strapped down in a tube. Evacuation concerns. Yeah, if you're in a tube, you'd have to have a way to get people out of the tubes quickly. That's going to be a problem. That's probably the reason right there. I didn't think of that. Yeah, I think Archie probably hits it on the head. There's no way you would be able to evacuate enough, because there's rules about how quickly the plane has to be evacuated. And having seen some of those tests, I think those are even made up numbers. But because yeah, it'd be difficult. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you'd have to like fire the people out of their tubes when you landed or crashed or whatever. Morrison Mysteries, the legend. I don't know what that is. All right, 90 seconds to evacuate. I'm guessing that's 90 seconds, or you have to leave in 90 seconds. Either way, airport lounges are booming and everyone wants in. So I've been to this. This is the Delta Sky Club in LAX, I think. It certainly looks like it. And this was updated 3 hours ago, so this is a fairly new article. I didn't think anybody could get into clubs half the time. This could be JFK. Doesn't matter. They try to make them look the same. So, travelers are flocking to airport lounges in search of complimentary food, drinks, and perhaps more importantly, a chance to relax away from the hordes of travelers at the gate. Yeah, let's get away from the plebes. We want to get away from the plebes.
Be excellent to each other.
Doesn't necessarily apply to everyone. Anyway, armed with high-end rewards, credit cards, and fresh from years of big spending, more and more travelers are gaining access to airport lounges, turning what once were small, exclusive spaces for an elite few into a must-have stop for millions on millions of passengers. The trend has posed an opportunity and a challenge for airlines and credit card companies as they market to the luxury masses.
What's wrong with the picture?
For top frequent flyers and certain credit card holders, standard airport lounge access is complimentary or discounted. Individual annual lounge memberships will run between $650 and $850 for major U.S. carriers, which have raised prices in recent years. Excuse me. Delta Sky Club lounges and the credit cards that gained entry to them became so popular that customers complained about the long lines and crowds at many locations. I was shocked to see a line in Salt Lake City, of all places. The airline, in response, curbed access for employees, instituted time limits, and its most controversial move yet, announced annual limits on visits for many credit card holders, even stripping some credit cards of access altogether. But many customers complained about those changes too, saying they were too strict. This week, Delta walked back some of the changes, highlighting how hard it has become to strike the right balance between exclusivity and access. Any wait is too long, and we're doing everything we can to minimize that. Delta's Chief Customer Experience Officer, Allison Osmonds, told CNBC last summer at the opening of a new, larger Sky Club at John F. Kennedy International Airport in New York. She said lounges are not a profit center for Delta by any means, but are an investment that we're making in the premium experience for our customers. The credit cards that are used to get access to those lounges are huge profit centers for customers, however. Huge. Delta executives have said that revenue growth for its premium products like business class has outpaced that of main cabin economy. Delta, United, and American are racing to build more lounges and spaces larger and larger ones to fit high demand. They have also divided or plan to divide their lounges into different tiers. United, for example, opened a grab-and-go express club at its hub Denver International last year for travelers making tight connections, which the carrier said could free up some space in more full-service lounges. The main lounge in Denver is pretty nice. The carrier separately operates a network of Polaris lounges for travelers booked in its highest cabin class, usually on long-haul international routes. Delta is in the process of building a new network of highest-tier lounges aimed at travelers on its Delta One suites and other top customers. These spaces are slated to begin opening next year, starting with one at Kennedy, followed by LAX and Boston. Credit card issuers such as Chase, Capital One, Amex are also opening new spaces in airports, eager to attract and retain high-spending customers. Customers reward companies that take care of them and that are on their side and create amazing experiences, said Jen Shirk, head of travel at Capital One. The company has opened clubs at Washington Dulles International, Dallas Fort Worth, and plans to open one at Denver early next month, with projects at New York's LaGuardia Airport and Ronald Reagan National Airport. Capital One Venture X cardholders pay an annual $395 fee for this card, which comes with unlimited access to the company's lounges, as well as access for 2 guests. The general public can get in for $65 a visit. I would have to upgrade my Venture card to the X. I do not have an X. Chase opened its first Chase Sapphire Lounge in Hong Kong in 2022, and its first in the U.S. At Boston Logan in May, featuring a tap room and massage chairs. Side note, visited the Boston Logan location. It is fantastic. Probably my favorite lounge, even though there was not really much food there for me to eat. If you want to check it out, search for Boston to Atlanta trip report, or I think it was Boston to Atlanta. I know that. Excuse me. Need some water. It's planning to open other lounges at LaGuardia Airport, Washington Dulles, Las Vegas, Philadelphia, Phoenix, and San Diego. These lounges are open to customers with Chase Sapphire Reserve cards, which have a $550 annual fee, along with 2 guests. And that is how I get access, because I have a Chase Sapphire Reserve, and gets me priority pass along with many other perks. And so I will say, in my case, the $550 fee, I earn about $1,500 in benefit from the $550 annual fee. So I'm netting $1,000 basically is how that works when I do my analysis. So, let's see, where am I? Oh, TJ, what credit card do you like for lounge access? There you go. Chase Sapphire Reserve. Sounds like they're opening more Chase Sapphire lounges, which is a good thing. Plus, one of the perks you get is you get the priority pass, which the club at wherever airport, there's the club network of lounges. And actually, the priority pass gets you access to lots of international lounges. So there's a club in Seattle and Vegas. Let's see. Technically, the Chase Sapphire lounges are the club at Boston Logan. The Chase Sapphire Lounge in Boston Logan is actually called the club at Boston Logan by Chase Sapphire Reserve, something like that. So it's part of that whole same network. So that's I use the Sapphire Reserve for most of my access. So. A lot of lounges have pay on the door options. Regional airports have private lounges that you can buy access. Yeah, I'm really tempted when my local Boise airport expands to explore opening a pay-as-you-go lounge there. With all the people we've got moved here from California and Seattle, I'm pretty sure the bougie set that's moved here from elsewhere would pay $65 to get into a lounge before their flight. So yeah. TJ, I think the Capital One card is the best bang for your buck. Could be. I've actually not done I've not looked. I've not done the analysis on any of them. I know the points guy will do a lot of that stuff for you as well. So they have an analysis of all the cards, excuse me, where you can find the one that suits your needs. I think everybody's needs are probably a little bit different. So yeah, I would recommend looking at the points guy. Not paid by them, but I think they have good information. So let's see. David says a number of UK airport lounges can be accessed from 32 pounds for up to 3 hours. Yep. Yeah, last time I was at Heathrow, I accessed the Aspire Lounge, I think it was, using my priority pass. So that was pretty cool. Let's see. Just looking for Heathrow lounges, and there's a story about Premium Lounge for 45 pounds that was worse than a cheap pub chain there. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. Does not surprise me. TJ asked, does Pocatello have a very big airport? No. Pocatello does not have a very big airport. I think they do get CRJ 200s. I think. Let's go. Let's take a look. TJ, since you ask. Pocatello Regional. I've actually flown when I was doing business back in my business days. Let's see. Any arrivals scheduled today? Look at that. E-175s. So looks like Delta has 2 flights a day in and out of Pocatello. So, no, not a very big airport. Bodacious says, Pocatello has an airport? Yes. Well, Amazon Prime Air headed to Seattle. But yeah, I've actually flown in and out of there. You can get a rental car. It used to be served by CRJ 200s. One of the travel guys that I used to watch, who I think is married and grounded now. I think his wife he's from Switzerland. I can't remember what his name was. I think he was from Switzerland, from Zurich, and somehow he ended up marrying a girl, I think from Pocatello or from Eastern Idaho. And so he would fly into Pocatello. He did trip reports on the CRJ 200. So, yeah. Love poke.
Be excellent to each other.
Oh, that was the wrong. So Bodacious says,
Inconceivable.
yes, Pocatello does have an airport. Not a big airport. Even Idaho Falls up the road has an airport. I've actually flown in and out of Idaho Falls. My parents lived there once upon a time. Looks like we got Delta, American to Dallas, United to Denver, Allegiant, Alaska to Seattle. Yeah, so they got pretty good service. So Badger says he remembers the Swiss guy's trip report. Do you remember his name? I can't remember his name for the life of me. I think he's married, and I think his wife grounded him. Which I can't. I mean, found something better, I guess. Typically, a good partner is well worth it not to travel. So, it's all about priorities. And I think putting your priority in your partner is a good thing. So, TJ says Boise must be the big boy in the state. Correct. In Idaho, Boise is the biggest airport. I don't know how many passengers. Here's Boise. Here's Le Boise. Le Bois. Oh, that's an American flight. Let me get to there. Come on. I have to get a little closer. Boise is the big airport because it's effectively a military base, because you've got on the south side, this is Gowan Field. There is a SkyWest hangar, and we now have an Amazon hangar. So we're big time. Arrivals and departures. They just announced the other day, and I'm sure they'd be super happy. They'd be super happy for me to announce next summer, Sun Country will be flying in and out of Boise to Minneapolis. So, yay, Boise. So, a typical day's flights. Let's see, earliest flights. Salt Lake City. Oh, Spirit. Spirit changed their schedule a bit. That's a very late arrival. When's the Spirit departure? Just curious. Sorry. Squirrel! I'm having a squirrel moment. Well, is Spirit still on the ground? My recollection is Spirit's normal departure time is later in the day. Yeah, so they must have come in. Do we have 2 Spirit flights a day now? Wow. That'd be really big time. Cargos, of course. Lots of Delta, lots of Alaska. Allegiant to Vegas. Avelo. So, yeah. Yeah, so we are... this is the big airport in the state. So, I wouldn't say that there's particularly any one carrier that is more bigger than any other. There's probably more Alaska flights than any. It used to be a big Q400 base. Oh, you can't see any of this. Sorry. Go back to the map. So here's the list of flights every day. Typical day starts at 5:30 in the morning. Flight to Minneapolis with Delta. I've done that. I hate those early flights. Flight to the Spirit departure. We must get 2 Spirits a day now. Interesting. But there's the list, and then the cargoes get here in the afternoon. But probably Alaska is the most flights, and then Southwest and Delta probably pretty close to tied for second place. Then American would be third probably, because we get American flights to Dallas as well as Phoenix. So let's see. Badger says Milwaukee was the first airport I flew out of when I was 17. The military paid for it. Yeah. So, and I was on vacation, so I missed Gowan Thunder, which had the Thunderbirds. So that was kind of a bummer to miss that, but I was in Vegas, so it was a good time. Let's see. David says even priority pass is a good alternative for regular travelers. Yeah, I agree. I'm all in on my priority pass. I'm not really going to chase any particular status necessarily. So Amazon hanger, but still no next day delivery. No, we actually have some same day delivery because we have an Amazon. We actually have an Amazon warehouse. If I go down here, follow the freeway, follow the interstate. Let's see. This big building here, this is the Amazon regional warehouse. So we actually get same day delivery for a few items and next day for quite a few. So yeah, so we're big time, dude. Dude, we're big time. I should have squirrel clip to change subjects. That's a good idea. I'm going to write that down. Squirrel. What I typically do when I'm talking to my wife, because I get these squirrel, it's a flaw. I have these squirrel moments all the time. What I typically do is I say, in other news, as a segue. Maybe I'll do that for my squirrel moments. Another squirrel moment. I've been watching Alone. They eat a lot of squirrel. Right. Bodacious adds, be aware if you fly into Boise, they roll up the sidewalks at 7 p.m. In the airport. Let me qualify that. Most of the restaurants and shops in the airport, I think it's actually about 5:30 they start closing up, which is crazy to me because there are plenty of flights that leave, what do we got? After 5 o'clock or around 5 o'clock, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 or so flights leave after 5 o'clock. And all of the shops in the airport pretty much close up super early. It used to be even worse. They used to close up like at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when I was in high school, and we would fly in and out of Boise because at that time there was no regional service. I didn't live in Boise for high school, but I lived nearby, and so we have to come up to Boise to catch a flight, and the airport would be essentially deserted. A little bit smaller back then. I think the city of Boise was probably only 50,000, not the 500,000 that it is today, but yeah. TJ, is Idaho similar to Utah? Bodacious says in many ways. Yeah, I can't see the map. Sorry about that. I did it again, didn't I? Maybe I'll just leave it here. There's the Amazon warehouse that I was talking about. Yeah, it's very similar. I would say very similar. The southern part of Idaho is very similar to the Salt Lake area, I'd say. Salt Lake area has bigger mountains than the valley here. We're in Boise that I live. Northern Idaho is a very different experience. So, what do you think? What do you think there, Bodacious? Is that a fair assessment? Jason says, as close as I get to you next month is Spokane. That's a bummer. Well, you'll make it. I know you'll make it, or I'll make it to Dallas one of these times, and we can meet up. Let's see. TJ says, closest I get to you is 35,000 feet. Yeah. I would say the southern part of Idaho is very different than the northern part of Idaho. And the southern part of Utah, is probably more varied because you've got like the Moab area, the very desert, red rocky type stuff in southern Utah. But you also have like Zion National Park and Bryce Canyon, which are like mountainous canyon parks is how I would. It's not a very fair description because they're beautiful parks, and so yeah. The United States is so diverse. It's hard to really do a compare and contrast because they're so different. Even along the Rocky Mountains, a lot of the territory is very different. So, hey, Redco, how are you, man? Haven't heard or seen from Red for a while. Let's see, you probably headed to Mexico pretty soon, if I remember right. Redco says that's why having status and access to lounges are handy for those super early or super late flights. Yeah. I would maybe I should be pursuing a possible lounge for the Boise airport when they expand. Maybe that's already in their plans and I'm too late for that, but, David says maybe they can't get staff in the evening. Yeah, they've probably done the math, and the amount of smash burgers that they sell doesn't pay for the staff. Perhaps I don't really know. Yeah. Red adds unless your departure airport doesn't have lounges. Yeah, like Boise, no lounges. Let's see. Bodacious says, I agree, Northern Idaho is almost like a different state compared to the Boise area. David says, I don't worry about lounge access for early flights, likely to be delayed, and you probably only need coffee first thing. Always dig coffee. Yeah. But yeah, I'm tempted to explore a lounge for the Boise airport. A Priority Pass lounge would make some sense. I don't know if the club is a franchise or what, but it's been something that I think I have. I think with the influx of people from other states, I finally have the demographic that would make a lounge in Boise a viable thing. So I don't know. Archie's got to go. All right. See you Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. That is the plan. Jason, are you confirmed for Wednesday evening, 7 p.m. Jason's time? And we will, 8 o'clock Eastern, we will go over Jason's article. Jason, as I said, Jason wrote me an article for my website, which I can remind you. You can preview it if you'd like. 10 true tips from a real flight attendant. All right, Jason, as always, I will get you hooked up before we go live to the broader YouTube audience to make sure we don't have any technical difficulties. But yeah, sweet. So we'll go over your article on Wednesday and whatever new travel news and stuff and things come up between now and then. And of course, if you do go to my website, you can check out my Maldives blog. There you go. You can see me floating in the chilled pool. I forgot about that photo. It's a little embarrassing. I'm very, very pale. Very, very pale. There's me in the water looking at my little island in the Maldives, my Singapore Airlines flights. We flew on Silk Air. The bougie dinner we went to that neither my wife nor I really appreciated. Loved Barros. This is Barros, Maldives. Did some diving. So yeah, loved it. Anyway, so we'll see Jason on Wednesday evening, and I think that's all I got for you today. Unless you guys have last questions, don't forget to like. Like is the best way for other viewers to get connected to the live stream, and best chance for me to share all of the joy of travel with anybody who pops along. So in a pickle, TJ, hope to see you Wednesday. Redco, good to see you too, my friend. Yeah, so we will be here Wednesday evening, 8 o'clock. Like I said, you can preview the article. So,
get busy living or get busy dying.
So that's my advice for you between now and whenever, and have fun. Happy landings. Right back at you, TJ. What I like to say on all my videos and here on the channel is happy travels, everyone. And I will see you Wednesday, my time, and Thursday morning for David. All right, friends. Thanks for coming along, and bye-bye.